So I'm a female. I'm 23 years old now, and the story was when I was 21 with a 4-month-old baby. He's mine, and he's 2 years old now. I'm about 5'9", a bit overweight, and I have social anxiety around new people. I went with my sister, who's about 26 years old and around 5 feet tall, to her work, as she worked at a very nice restaurant in a shopping center. We went straight there for her 6 p.m. start after being in the city all day long collecting money for a cat rescue. I was just chilling out, eating good food and binging on Reddit when I decided I wanted to smoke. So I pack up the kidlet and let my sister know I'm going out to the car park to have a smoke as she passes through the dining area. The car park was about 70 meters away from the restaurant. It had really good lighting, and because it was so late, I could hang around near the doors. This is where it gets creepy. The security guard was doing his rounds, about my height, and Indian. He decides to check on me. That's cool, man. I'm just having a smoke. The conversation went something like this.
Hey, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Just waiting for my sister to get off work.
Very good. It's a very cute baby. I have 4 at home. You got a husband?
I told him that I have a fiance, which was a complete lie. I was 100% single at the time, but he was already making me pretty anxious.
You know, I could be husband. I look after baby for you. I look after you.
No thanks. I'm sure your wife wouldn't appreciate that.
No, wife love baby. Wife will love you too. You come home with me?
I finish my smoke and decide this is when I need to get away. He then follows me inside, and I go around the mostly closed shopping center hoping to lose him in Kohl's. I actually lost him for about 5 seconds, but Kohl's had just shut down for the night, and the only place left open was my sister's work. So I went back there, even though I didn't want him to know where I was at. Right as I was about to walk into the restaurant, I then saw him coming up the escalator, and he was still watching me. I take the last 2 steps towards the hostess, who happened to be the owner's daughter, and told her what was going on. At this point, the security guard is standing right in front of the restaurant, still just staring at me. The hostess takes me to a semi-secluded booth and goes to talk to her dad about the whole situation. As she's gone, well, the creepy security guard came into the dining area, searched for me, and then came and sat right in my booth, way too close to me and my child.
How old are you? I want to ravish you, pretty woman. You be mother to my babies. We make cute babies.
At this point, it was very clear that I was super uncomfortable, but he still made it worse.
Don't worry, I security. I protect you and baby.
He's reaching across the table with one hand now. I'm frozen. I don't care about the hand near me, but I'm watching for the other one. I'm not gonna let anyone touch my baby. I'm about to snap, go full mama bear mode, when then the owner of the restaurant steps in and asking if there's a problem. English is not his native language, but he gets the point across.
No problem. Just talking to my lovely lady.
This is a customer. Has she done something wrong?
No, never. She my lady. We're going to get married.
Then the weird security guard does this really creepy grin. It was like he was silently warning me to play along. Finding some comfort in the restaurant owner's presence, I just want this man to leave me alone so I can eat my dinner.
Haha, funny lady. See? We joke.
I don't know this man. Please get him to leave me alone. The restaurant owner then chimes in again. She wants you to leave now. Get out of here.
No, she just messing around. She love me. I be waiting for you, my pretty lady.
He eventually leaves after that. The restaurant owner makes sure that I'm okay and moves me to the employee break room and eventually tells my sister everything that happened. 2 hours later, and my sister had finished her shift, we pack up and head to the car. Security guard appears out of nowhere, and he was actually waiting for me.
I take pretty lady and baby home now. Come on, pretty lady. We go home.
Just like a guardian angel, the restaurant owner steps right out from his car right behind the security guard. "She's going home with her sister, and you're gonna leave her alone."
"No, pretty lady mine. She come home with me."
Right after that, the restaurant owner just looks at us and tells us to get in the car and that he's gonna take care of this. We get in the car and then head right home. I found out the next day from my sister that her boss had actually physically restrained the security guard because he went to grab my arm as I was getting in the car, and then he got him fired and permanently banned from ever going to that shopping center ever again. This is by far one of the creepiest things that has ever happened to me in my life. I really hope I never encounter that security guard ever again anywhere else. This happened a long time ago in my early 20s. My friend and I went into JCPenney's for her to exchange a package of onesies for her infant daughter. Both of us had our toddlers with us, sitting and facing each other in a stroller. After being in the store for a few minutes, they both started tugging back and forth on one of the packages of the onesies. I grabbed the package from them and threw it into the compartment under the stroller, ending their game of tug of war. My friend did a little more shopping, and the boys did some more fighting and whining. She exchanged the onesies and then cashed out the rest of her items. We left that store, got lunch in the food court, let the babies play in the play place, and grabbed some coffee, ready to head out. As we received our coffees, a security officer approaches me and asks me what I stole. Now, completely dumbfounded, I tell him I didn't steal anything. He tells me that he has me on video stealing, and if I confess, he'll go easy on me. I tell him he's wrong, and he can even check my purse, as I have nothing on me. He then immediately pulls the package of onesies from the bottom of the stroller. Amidst our toddler screaming, I guess she didn't realize that I put them down there, so she grabbed another package. I didn't pay attention because she had bought some other things, and I was trying to keep the boys from poking each other in the eyes. You know how it is. Toddlers can be a real pain. I then tell the security guard it was absolutely not intentional and explain how the boys were grabbing on it, to which then led to my throwing it to the bottom of the stroller. He goes on a rant on how he's heard every excuse in the book and I'm just making it worse for myself. So I bring up the timeline and then ask, if I honestly intended to steal, why would I stay for lunch, let the kids play, and then calmly sit down to have my coffee? My friend also confirms that she has the infant daughter, and yes, the boys were annoying each other during our shopping trip. Now, this apparently pissed off the security guard, because he then went into full-on commando mode, pulling me by the arm back to JCPenney's and right into the security room. We get inside the security room and I urge him to watch the security tape yet again, figuring he'll see the babies fussing and understand the confusion. Now, he leaves me in the room for 45 minutes, to which I figured he had seen the babies fussing and fighting. Well, nope. He comes back in and calls me a liar. He says that it very clearly showed me shoplifting and he's going to call the cops now. I'm absolutely frustrated, but agree to the cops being called because I figured that they'll see the tapes and understand the mistake. Well, he didn't like this either. He tells me that once the cops get involved, he's required to call Child Protective Services as well, which will immediately open a case, and that they're probably going to take my son in custody until I have a court date. Now, keep in mind, I'm only 23 years old at the time, and I've never been in a situation like this before in my life, so stupid me believed his lying ass. I break down crying, telling the guy that I'm being honest and that I'm not a thief and that I have a clean record. Why would I even steal clothes for a child that isn't even mine? He was absolutely cold. He went on to tell me that the most innocent looking people are usually the ones who steal, and that he's heard every excuse and lie that you could possibly think of. I have about 3 minutes to confess before he calls the cops and has my son taken away from me. I still insisted my innocence because, well, I was. I also began to beg for a manager. Crazy security guard then leaves and comes back about 10 minutes later. No manager, but with a paper which is basically a generic written confession saying that I shoplifted in the amount of $6.99. and it said that I agreed to pay restocking fees, loss and prevention fees, and to not enter the store for 3 years. Now I'm hysterically crying, pleading with him that I did nothing wrong. I'm not a shoplifter. The only thing I did was exercise poor judgment by not specifying to my friend that the onesies were on the bottom. He tells me he has no sympathy for thieves and liars and that he's already called the cops and that they're on their way to arrest me and take away my son. That is, unless I sign the paper. So I panic. I quickly sign the form, to which he then releases me. I tell my friend who drove us there to hightail it out of the mall ASAP. After telling her the story in the car and other people later, I come to find out that the entire thing was complete bullcrap. The security guard totally lied and manipulated me, and he should have lost his job for that. But he was so far in my head that I just didn't want to revisit the situation, even for a second. It's been over a decade since this happened. I still get anxiety just thinking about it. I haven't seen that same security guard since that happened, but I really hope I never do. About 4 years ago, I worked as a laundress. I worked 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. and would often work alone. We usually have a security guard posted near the parking lot, and later in the day they patrol the building. There was this new guy that had started, and I never saw him watching over the parking lot when I came in each morning. Throughout my shift, he would come into my laundry room, and he was very talkative. But I noticed that he would look at my body a lot when he thought I didn't notice. One day I came into work and started putting away my stuff and getting ready to begin. I hadn't turned on the lights yet, so there were parts of the room that I couldn't see. Suddenly I hear the radio static in the corner of the room, and I see a red radio light. I turn on the lights and the new guy is in the corner of the room, hiding and watching me. Whenever I asked what he was doing there, he said that he was just hanging out and then started laughing. It was obvious he was waiting for me. He ended up doing this so often that I just kinda got used to it. One day I came in early and was working in one of our smaller areas. He came into the smaller room to talk to me. Now, he's a big guy, so I wasn't really able to get around him. He was just kind of talking to me, but I couldn't move or leave the room because he was completely blocking the door. He had asked me why I came in early that day, and I told him it was because I had to leave early later on. He begins to tell me that I'm required to tell him all my hours so that he always knows where I'm at. He was leaning over me, and I felt like he was trying to upset me. I had this really horrible feeling deep in my stomach that he was about to try something. That's when I pushed past him and then called my supervisor, who said that he would keep an eye on him. I told him that I had a bad gut feeling about this guy and that I needed to leave for the rest of the day. Well, the very next day, he was fired. So, apparently he wasn't in the guard tower at the start of the shift because he would spend all of his mornings in the woods near the parking area recording girls walking in for their shifts each morning. They had also found this really huge collection of soda cans and coffee cups that was in his locker. Apparently he had dug them out from all of the various trash bins around where I and the other girls worked at. Yeah, super creepy. The last thing I remember hearing was that shortly after, his wife ended up leaving him and then took full custody of their newborn baby. Pretty crazy stuff. This happened a few months ago, and I really didn't realize just how weird it was until I told my boyfriend about it a few months later. At my college, our student IDs are pretty much essential for you to have. They get you into all the academic buildings and you get all of your food on the meal plan. I had lost mine and was forced to get a new one. I went to the security desk and told the security guard that I lost my ID and that I needed a new one made. He said,
"No problem. Just come with me while I print you a new one."
He was older. If I had to guess, I would say he was about 65, but in very good shape. Definitely over 6 foot, and you could tell that he was pretty attractive when he was younger. He had curly gray hair, very well kept, and ice blue eyes. We went to the back of the security room in the main student commons building. It was a room that was a little ways back but still had a good amount of foot traffic going by it. I walked in and sat on the couch that was across from the desk. When we walked inside, he closed the door. He went on the computer at the desk and asked me all of my information, student ID number, name, birthday, etc. When he pulled up my account, he saw my picture that is used for my ID. He asked me if I wanted to take a new picture for the new ID, and I said no, I'm good, because I really didn't like my picture being taken. But I also kind of looked a mess this day because I wasn't expecting to need a new picture taken. He then said,
"Well, your picture's pretty good. You look pretty. Most are pretty bad."
I laughed and said thank you and told him I was a senior in high school and that got taken at orientation almost 3 years ago. He then replied to me with,
"Well, you must have always been really pretty."
I started to feel a little weird then, but it's just a security officer at my college, and it's pretty well known for having great security. He then went on to say that the computer wasn't letting him print one without taking a new picture since it was so old. He told me,
"If you need to get a new ID, it makes you take a new picture after 2 years because people can change in looks, and we need to make sure it's you and have some good confirmation."
Okay, you just asked me if I wanted to take a new one, but now you're telling me I need a new one? What? I found this really weird because I thought if that was the case, he would have known that from the very beginning. But again, whatever. He's the security officer and I need to get this stupid ID. I said okay, and he said he would set up everything. He went into a closet within this security room and got out a camera on a tripod, and he told me to stand up against the wall. I did so and kind of just smiled really awkwardly. He told me that I needed to take my hair out of the bun because the hair needed to be down for the ID. Okay, but I really didn't think much of this either, as I had never seen a girl's ID without their hair down. He took a picture and then he said my eyes were closed. I kind of just laughed because my eyes are typically closed in 9 out of 10 pictures that I take. Also another reason why I didn't like my picture being taken in the first place. He told me that it was fine and that he didn't mind taking a couple. He then came over to me and he told me that my hair looked kind of awkward, so he was just going to fix it for me so I looked better for the picture. He then started fixing my hair and that's when I pulled my head back and then said to him, "It's good, I don't really care. No one looks at it anyways." He rolled his eyes at me and then said,
"Whatever, it's your picture, but it would look a lot better if I fixed it."
Again, I told him that it was fine and not to worry, just trying to be polite. After the next picture, I saw the clock on the wall and realized I had only 10 minutes before class started. I told him to just use whichever picture didn't have my eyes closed because I have class in about 10 minutes, so I kind of have to go. He replied back,
"Look, your professor isn't going to get mad at you if you say you were getting an ID from security and it just took a while."
At this point, I realized I had been in there for over 20 minutes, and I wasn't nervous but more so sick of just being there, and I just really wanted out already. He then told me that the pictures just take a few minutes to print and to just wait on the couch or something. He then started talking to me and asking me what my major is, if I have a boyfriend, and he asked how long we had been dating, and also said something like,
"Oh, you know guys in college are no good. They will just waste your time. You should just break up with him and find someone older and more mature."
Yeah, dude, whatever. Just give me my ID already. I didn't really respond to that and kinda just said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go because I really can't be late for class. Can I just pick this up at the desk after class?" The security guard then huffed and then said to me,
"What a rush you're in, but it should be ready now, just hold on."
He then went from the desk to the back of the room where the printer was and finally grabbed my ID.
"Wow, the picture is even better. I'm a pretty good photographer if I do say so myself,"
he said, and then he did this really creepy wink. He kept holding the ID and not handing it to me. I was getting really annoyed at this point, but I'm really bad at being assertive. "Look, I'm sorry, but I really have to go now." He then laughed at me and then said,
Okay. I would think a senior wouldn't be so nervous about being a little late.
then finally handed me the ID. I basically snatched the ID right out of his hands, and he then said,
"Well, I'll walk you out because you aren't supposed to be back here without a security guard. I wouldn't want you getting in trouble."
I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, dude, just let me go already. Let me get out of here. So he walked me out and I said thank you and basically just ran right out of the building. I'm not going to lie, I thought he was pretty weird and flirty, but I had never needed to get an ID made before, so I just thought that's how the process was and that he was just being a little too flirty with the situation. So I never really said anything to anyone. With about 3 weeks left of school, I somehow managed to lose my ID yet again. I had been borrowing my boyfriend's because I was super busy at the end of the year and just thought, I really don't have a half hour to spare to go get another ID. Finally, my boyfriend got pretty annoyed with me using his meal plan and having his ID, and he then said, "You really need to go get a new one. It only takes about 5 minutes tops." I said, "No it doesn't. It took half an hour and I don't have time for that." He asked me what the heck I was talking about, and I told him the whole story about the security guard. My boyfriend began to tell me that that's absolutely not okay and I needed to report it immediately. I told him that I didn't care enough to go through all that, but I asked him to come with me to get a new ID. When I went to go get a new one, this time it was a different security guard, and he said, "Yeah, no problem. Just wait right here, I'll be back in a minute." Not even 5 minutes later, he came right back with a new one. I told him what had happened last time with the other security guard, and he looked very concerned about it. He asked me who the security guard was. I didn't know his name, but I described him. He gave me the name and office of the head security guard and told him that he would call and tell them that I was coming over. So I went and talked to the head security officer, and he told me that what happened was not at all protocol. And when he looked in the system, he saw over 30 pictures of me taken. He then reported it to the higher-ups. I had to go in and speak to a group of 3 people in administration, and they let me know that he was fired and would not be allowed on campus ever again. They also told me to notify them if I happened to see him. Now, I know it doesn't sound that crazy like most of the stories you hear, and I'll be honest, I didn't really feel like I was in any danger. But honestly, I think I was just too naive to feel that at the time. I've always trusted every security guard, but I have no idea what his intentions were. Why did he take over 30 pictures of me? I just don't know. And honestly, I don't know if I even want to know. The building that I used to work in had 2 security guards. There was a harmless old guy, and also a younger guy my age, who was not so harmless. Over time though, he became very friendly towards me. He had asked me on a date and I said yes. I had already mentioned that I was moving out of country very soon, so obviously nothing will come of it, but hey, if he wants to buy me dinner, why not? Mistake 1 was giving him my address to come pick me up. I mean, he's security at work and I'm leaving the country pretty soon, so it seemed a small risk. I had told my office mates and I agreed to dinner with them. I mean, what's the worst that can really happen anyways? He arrives on time with 24 roses. He then tells me that he's bought a brand new suit and he also had his car detailed for the occasion. I thought that was a bit much, but so far he seems pretty nice and harmless. I thanked him and I told him that I forgot something and that I'd be right back. I wasn't about to let this guy put the roses in water. We get to dinner and it's this very nice restaurant. We've not even had our drink order taken yet and he drops this on me. He tells me that he's a 27-year-old virgin who's never kissed anyone, and this is his first date and he's super nervous. Oh crap. Really, dude? You know who's also really nervous? This chick right here. What the heck am I supposed to do with that nugget of info, dude? So yeah, dinner was pretty awkward. I really did my best to be polite and kind, but it just got weirder from there. At the end of the night, he lunged for my face and stuck his tongue deep in and out of my mouth. I was totally not expecting that, but hey, he's now kissed a real live girl and had his first date, so good for him. Really not looking forward to breaking it to him later that I'm not interested and also moving, but why rain on his parade right then? Before I could break it to him, it got weird. Like,
How dare you not return my call the next day, or the day after?
not that it's his business or anything, but I spent that Saturday and Sunday visiting my family. I came home to a full box of voice messages, the last of which were very angry. When I got to work on Monday, I found a lovely letter on my desk. Jesus. The letter basically said that he knew where I lived, what car I drove, and some other info showing that he had been taking notes of my coming and going. Why wasn't I home that weekend? Whoa, this was so creepy. This is why you're single. It's not because you're a virgin, it's because you're a creep. He got pretty angry and stalkery. I'd see him out when I wasn't working. At this point, I said screw it, gave early notice, and got the heck out of there ASAP. I really wish I could tell you moving country was enough, but nope. The guy actually managed to find me online. Now, I don't use my real name because of work, and he proceeded to harass me online, and he followed my friends in order to find me. Dude, you're so going to die a virgin. I used to feel sorry for you, but what the heck? Yeah, so I have no intention on ever speaking to him or seeing him ever again. So, I'm not the best at writing and describing things, but something happened to me about 3 days ago. It's been on my mind non-stop. I've had a lot of nightmares over it. I'm going away for about 5 months this summer to work in Greece. Same thing I did last year. Anyway, this time it's not such a last-minute decision, so I planned ahead to take a few family members away on a low-budget British caravan holiday so that we could spend time together before I leave. I booked it for a week, Friday to Friday. The first few days were good, celebrating Wales winning the Grand Slam in the rugby. Monday was pretty much the same. We played bingo on the on-site clubhouse, and this is where I noticed a member of their security team. He looked pretty attractive at a distance. I like beards and glasses, so I said to my mother, "Oh, he's nice," and we kinda just laughed about it. A little while later, he approached our table and chatted to us a little bit about general things going on site and his job. He shook my hand and introduced himself. He then stood by our table on and off all night trying to engage in general conversation. He made excessively eye contact with me, which was kind of weird, so I thought that's why I was getting such bad anxiety being around him, cause otherwise he seemed pretty normal. When we were leaving, he was on duty at the front of the clubhouse that we walked past, and I told him bye. He said something along the lines of,
"Aw, don't go. I've got 2 days off and I won't be able to see you."
which I thought was pretty weird cause we just met him and had nothing but really just basic conversation. My mom thought that I liked him, so she said that she was going to catch up with my dad and left me alone to talk with him. He looked like he was going to say something, but I wasn't really interested in being alone with him, so I just said, "I can't believe she left me behind. See you later," and then I left. I could feel him watching me walk through this dark car park. Again, so much anxiety. A couple of days went by and things were pretty normal, but on the day he came back on duty, which was a Wednesday, he noticed us right away and walked right over, winked at me, and stood right next to me, and then put his elbows on the table and was trying to chat with me again, way too close to my face. I shrugged it off and went to go play with my nephew who was in the arcade bowling machine. I remember seeing him in the corner of my eye, watching me from behind one of the machines, and again, I got really bad anxiety. I went back to my parents' table and he would walk by every few minutes looking each time. I couldn't stand the anxiety that I was feeling in my gut, so I waited until he was gone out of sight, made an excuse, and went back to the caravan alone. My parents arrived back a few hours later and told me that he kept stopping by and asking about me, and also asking where I was and if he needed to check up on me, and that he also gave my mother a piece of paper with his phone number on it to give to me. I was so embarrassed by that and actually joked with my mother about it. I mean, who tries to get someone's mom to be their wing woman? I mean, come on. Thursday was our last day. I decided not to go out because I felt really uncomfortable going there now after being watched and throwing his number away in the bin. My parents went somewhere else and I decided to just stay in. I was a bit of a panic and I was babysitting my nephew. This is where things took a turn and I got really freaked out. He began sending me messages on WhatsApp. I replied at first, just wanting to be polite. I also mentioned packing and going home. He started to get a little flirty with me, so I put my phone on silent and went to bed. My mom had left her window and curtain wide open. My dad had fallen asleep on the couch watching TV with my nephew, and I was in the single room by myself. I woke up a little later because I heard a rustling noise right outside. I froze for about a second, but I could hear movement right outside my window. When I looked through a tiny gap, I saw him standing there looking around, and I genuinely thought that I was going to have a heart attack right then and there. I've never been so paralyzed with fear before in my life. I felt like I needed to cough, but I was so terrified to make a sound. I looked at my phone and it was about 3:30. I saw that there was a bunch of WhatsApp notifications and I was way too scared to open them, so I read some of them from the notifications. He told me that he knew where I was and he wanted me to dangle myself outside of the window for him to play with, along with sending nude pictures, numerous calls and texts, all while outside my window. All I did was lay there for about 2 hours, way too afraid to even move. I must have fallen asleep because the next thing I remember was my mom waking me up saying that she had just opened the curtains in the living room and saw him standing right outside. I'd also like to add that this was at 9 a.m., 6 hours later. Again, I've never been so scared in my life. We were finally packed and ready to leave and get the heck out of here. By the time we were about to go, he had finally left. I ran to the car with my hood up, absolutely paranoid that he would stop us. My parents thought it was really weird of him being out there, but I never told them about all of the messages, so they don't really know why I was being so weird. I felt really sick waiting for my dad to start the engine because I don't know where he had gone or if he was still watching. If he had found out my number in Caravan and had seen us in my dad's car with the license plate, I mean, what else could he find out? I haven't really mentioned this story to anyone else because, to be honest, I can't really handle it right now. I feel so violated in every way, and I don't know how to describe it. I sincerely hope that I never meet that man ever again. So, I used to be a security officer at a homeless shelter earlier this year. I worked there for about 5 months before leaving. So back in March, I was at work doing what I needed to do. On the ground floor was a daytime-only homeless shelter, and on the top was a government homeless outreach office. This is who my contract was through, but I had to keep the entire building secure even though the shelter was a different organization. The government office was the mental health branch, so it wasn't uncommon for crazy people to, well, you know, act crazy. This particular day, an individual came up to pick up his medication. The man took the medication and walked over to the couch that sits in the office. After sitting down, the guy starts digging through his backpack and pulls out a big bag full of white pills. This immediately catches my attention. He grabs his pocket knife and smashed about 3 or 4 pills, uses his hands to make the dust into about 3 lines, and then snorts all of the dust up. What remained left, he just swept and flung it off the table. This is now considered to be acting hostile and potentially illegal. So I walk over and start trying to ask the man to leave. He keeps telling me,
"I gotta take my meds."
I inform him that he needs to leave some more, and then he says out loud without even looking at me,
"You know, I got a suppressed 9mm right in my bag that'll make you shut up."
Alarm bells start ringing. I now have a potentially active shooter scenario right in my hands, and I'm an unarmed officer. I calmly walk backwards to the receptionist and whisper to her to go get the other client up, call 911, and lock herself in the exam room, and do not open the door. She does this as well as inform all of the other caseworkers of the situation, and they all lock and barricade all of the doors. They had cameras in the lobby, so all of this was recorded and then turned over to the police. After many other attempts to get the man to leave and then informing him that the police were on their way and en route, he gets up, gets in my face, and then tells me quietly,
"I'm coming back for you one day,"
and storms out. The police arrive 5 minutes later and they examine the footage, put out an APB on the man, and take samples of the powder that he left on the table. A few days later, I'm informed that the man was now found but with no guns and no drugs, and the powder turned out to be some antipsychotic medication. He claimed that he just lost the bottle that they came in. Now, nothing bad really happened, but still, as a 19-year-old unarmed security guard, this scared the crap out of me. For all of those curious, I still work for the same company, but I work on third shift in a completely different location now. So did that crazy homeless guy that threatened me with a silenced 9mm. Please, just stay away from me. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know I've been slacking on the content lately, but I'm gonna do my best to start working on more videos. There's just been a lot happening, as I'm sure you're all very aware of. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I know that it's a very scary time right now, but hopefully these stories made your day just a little bit better. Stay strong, my friends. Much love to all of you. And remember to always stay